Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside Guns with your host, me, the Yankee Marshal. Now, today, I want to do something a little different. Usually, I come on here with a couple of topics in mind and, kind of present a semi-structured show, or I guess I should say a semi-structured shit show instead of just a total shit show, because I do actually kind of plan some things out and have specific topics. But today, I'm just going to tell you a story. It's a story that happened to me today. Now, at first you're going to say, what does this story have to do with anything we normally talk about on this channel? What's it have to do with guns or freedom or the Constitution or self-defense or any of those things? Well, bear with me through the story, and at the end, I'll wrap it up in a nice, tidy little bow, and you'll see what the moral of the story is and how it relates to self-defense, preparedness, etc. Things we normally talk about. Another thing I'm going to tell you real quick here before I start the story is, this is unembellished, pretty much. Nothing intentionally has been changed from what happened. And that's not usually what I do, because I'm a firm believer that you can either be totally honest or interesting. It's hard to be both. Unless, of course, you're like a hitman or like a hardcore, gritty prostitute. You probably don't have a whole lot of interesting stories. You might think they're interesting, but I'm probably not. So embellish a little, make your boring life interesting. But like I said, this story doesn't really need any embellishment. It's one of those rare instances where the world just aligns itself in a way that the story itself is interesting. So with that being said, I'm going to tell you the story. Well, today, my older son took my younger son's car over to get a new stereo installed in it that I had purchased. Well, they screwed up a couple of the wires in it, and they didn't get the constant wire to the right. They screwed up the red and yellow wire. Not a big deal, but I had to take it back over and get them to fix it. And they did, no problem. But when I was going to go over there, I had to take my son's little 2003 Subaru Forester Outback, it's a Subaru Legacy Outback. I had to drive it over there. So I drove it down the hill today. Well, I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but I live kind of in the boonies, which is why my video quality always sucks on my live chats. But, by the time I get down to a main road, it's Washougal River Road, and it is a windy-ass road. There's only one passing place on the entire 14 miles of road that you can actually pass someone. And usually when you hit it, there's cars coming the other way and you can't pass. So slow people are a problem on this road. It's not something that you've never heard me bitch about before if you've been in my live chats. There's always somebody, usually someone above the age of 75, in a white Camry. I don't know what it is about white fucking Camrys, but people close to death love them. I don't know if they come with free coffins or whatever, but people love them. And you get stuck behind one quite often on this road, someone going really slow. And it really puts kink in your day. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it slows you down, ticks you off a little bit sometimes. Well, I'm riding down the road today in my son's car with the windows down, just enjoying the drive. I'm actually kind of liking it because it's, an older car. It kind of reminded me when I was a kid and I drove cars that, weren't brand new, and it was fun, out with your friends and stuff, except only difference is I have no friends. Now, I had friends when I was younger. Now, let's not make this story sad, because it's not supposed to be sad. But I'm driving down the road. I come up behind a Honda. Looks like a relatively new Honda Accord. And in front of them is a really nice Rubicon Jeep Rubicon Wrangler Unlimited. It's got the doors off, tops off. I can clearly see the person driving it. Appears to be a younger woman. But they're doing about 20 to 25 miles an hour in a 45 mile an hour zone. Now, there are places on this road where the speed limit goes down to 20 because they're hairpin turns. But at this place, 45 mile an hour zone, they're doing under 25. Well, I follow them for a while, both cars. I'm the third car in the line, the Honda being between me and the Jeep. And I can see it's a younger woman, and I can see her doing stuff on her phone as she's driving and swerving and going really slow. And cars start to pile up behind me. By the time we get to the bottom of Washougal River Road, because this was about at mile 7 that I kind of ran into this group, and then cars started piling up behind me. By the time we got to the bottom, there had to be at least another 10 cars behind me. And this is not a heavily trafficked road at this time of the day. So a lot of people were getting pissed. People behind me were honking, and the person in front of me in the Honda Accord was honking at him a lot, trying to get him to pull over, because there's pullovers. Since there's no real passing zones, there's pullovers where people can pull over and let traffic go by, faster traffic, and then they can pull back out. Well, this person didn't seem to want to have any part of that, continued to do 20, 25 miles an hour all the way down the hill. It was irritating, to say the least, but, like I say, worst things in the world. Well, we get to the bottom of the hill, and there's a stoplight at the bottom of Washougal River Road right before you cross over the little outlet river. There's a little river that comes off of it. I forget what it's called, like Washougal Minor or something. But right before you get to that, there is a stoplight right by the Exxon station and the Mexican restaurant place, which you don't need to know any of that. Not relevant to the story, but hey, I'll give you a little info there. Well, she goes into the passing lane. I see she goes over in the passing lane. The Honda between us follows her into the passing lane. I go into the straight ahead lane. Lights red for both of us. Now, as I pull up right next to her, I kind of want to see, who is it that was driving so slow down the mountain? Maybe she just looks young from behind. Maybe she's like 95 and just has a wig on or has her hair dyed or something. But I look over, and no, it's a girl. She looks to me like she's about 15, which means she's probably 18 to 21. Because that's the way they look to me. If they're 18, 21 years old, they look like they're 12 to 15 to me, because I'm getting old. Well, I look over. She's a younger girl. What I'm sure would be considered conventionally attractive young woman. And she's wearing these big old sunglasses. And she looks over at me, and I think she's just going to be like, ooh, and look back forward. Because you know how we've all done something stupid, and then we're like, I don't see you, as we're driving. Well, instead, she kind of leans towards my car. My window's down because I'm in Caden's car. And she doesn't have any doors or top on her car right now, so everything's set up to just drive around in the summertime. She leans over to my car, leans over towards my car and says, "You got a problem, you old motherfucker?" And at that point, I was like, "Who is she talking to? Oh wait, I'm the old motherfucker." I don't remember fucking anybody's mother anytime recently, but I'm the old motherfucker. And I was like, "What?" And then she's like, "Yeah, you got a problem." And I was like, no. I was thinking maybe if you were going to drive that slow down the mountain, because I couldn't resist saying something, that just maybe next time you could consider pulling over and letting people around. And I actually said it that nicely. I was being nice. She's a young lady, and I'm an adult, mature person. And she flips out on me. "Fuck you. Who are you? Blah, blah, blah." All this like fuck, shit, blah, ye, brr, just all kinds of words that really shouldn't be coming out of a young lady's mouth. Not to be sexist, it shouldn't be coming out of anybody's mouth to someone you don't know at a stoplight just when you were the person fucking everybody up. Well, I'm like, wow. And being a mature, responsible adult trying to diffuse the situation a little bit, I, of course, looked at her and went, "Wow, you're kind of a cunt." And that, surprisingly, did not diffuse the situation. She got even madder. I mean, she was leaning over and she was poking her finger at me and yelling at me and calling me names. And for some reason, that struck me as kind of funny. So I kind of guffawed. I was like, and she didn't like that either. That seemed to make her even madder than calling her a cunt. But about that time, her light turned green so she could turn. But she was busy yelling at me. And when I laughed, it made her so mad, she acted like she was going to stand up. She puts her car in park. That was a good thing. She actually put it in park. I noticed she did that before she stood up. She stands up, but as she's starting to stand up and take her seatbelt off, the car behind her had been waiting for the light to turn green just to honk on the horn. So as soon as the light turned green, she's taking off her seatbelt, standing up. They lay on the fucking horn. Just burp. So she immediately forgets about old fucker number one, which was me. And she turns her attention to the people behind her in the Honda, and she immediately stands straight up in her seat, well, in front of her seat, kind of her knee on the seat, that kind of thing, standing up in a Jeep, starts flipping off both hands, the people behind her, yelling at them to suck her dick. And I was like, does she have a dick? If she has a dick, that would explain some of her behavior. That's more of a testosterone thing that's going on now, this type of aggression. Women usually aren't this openly aggressive. So I was like, well, maybe she has a dick. Maybe that's the whole problem. Maybe she's angry about that, and she's going to be angry until she gets rid of that dick. I don't know. But I didn't have time to think about it because, like I say, she's fuck, suck my dick, fuck, shit, blah, 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 to the people behind her, which I'm like, well, at least she's not yelling at me anymore. At that moment, my light turns green. But right as my light is turning green, I see the side door open on the Honda that's behind her. And I didn't know what was going to happen, but literally this mountain of a woman stepped out of the car. And I'm not saying she's just like a short, fat lady like most big ladies are. This was like a large woman. Like she has probably been hooked to a plow in her life. Big mountain woman from the back hills of Washougal. Skamania County woman here. One of the type of women that when she got out of the car went, like raised 6 inches. So I was like, ooh, this is either going to be good or tragic. But like I said, my light had turned green. There are probably 10 cars behind me still at this point. So I go. And unfortunately, I'm trying to watch as I'm going, and the woman is walking up to her, and she's still flipping her off and screaming at her. And the woman is literally walking around to the front of this woman's Jeep and coming around to the driver's side. At that time, I'm going over the overpass and down on the other side of the river. I can't see what's going on anymore. So I'm like, well, she's probably dead. So I was actually looking in the news and checking the internet tonight saying, hey, was there a young woman beaten to death by what appeared to be a shaven Yeti in Washougal, Washington last night? Didn't find anything about a young woman having to have a boot surgically removed from her ass or anything, because I didn't notice if this woman was wearing a boot, but I would bet she's wearing a boot, probably a work boot. So didn't see anything, so I don't know what happened after I left, but was interesting up till there. Now this is the part where you're saying, okay, well, what is the moral of this story? Well, the moral of this story is you should always carry, because there are crazy motherfuckers everywhere. And I don't know what happened to make her so angry on the way down the hill. Was it the people honking at her? Was it something about she was on the phone about? Was she on the phone learning that her grandmother had just murdered her other grandmother and then committed suicide? Has she just learned that her dog had left her, for someone else? Or was she fighting with her boyfriend or her father? I don't know. Maybe her father gave her that Jeep and he telling her she's coming home and she ain't driving it anymore. I don't know what's going on. I'm just, making stuff up at this point to try to excuse her behavior, because normal people don't act like that. So there had to have been something. Unless she's just a total bitch. But, that's possible, but not likely. But like I said, I don't know what happened to make her act like that, but that was crazy bullshit. I always tell people, watch that show Locked Up, and then remember that no matter where you are, there's probably someone like that within a quarter mile of you. Because there's crazy people out there. So be prepared to defend yourself. Now, in this situation, she wasn't really a threat to me. Unless, of course, instead of a penis in her pants, she'd had a pistol and pulled it out. Then I'd been a little more like, okay, this is a problem. I would have probably, first thing I would have done is just stomp the gas and shoot off in traffic. I would have taken my chances rather than getting shot by some crazy transvestite on the highway, which I don't know that she was transvestite. She didn't look, she's very passable. I'm just saying she was telling people suck her dick, so what am I supposed to assume? But that could have gone bad. I could have had to get out of there. I could have been in danger. And maybe I couldn't have gotten out of there. What if there had been another car in front of me? And I couldn't gun it out and get out of there. And someone pulled a gun on me. This person, like I said, was acting crazy. And there's crazy people everywhere. I want people to keep that in mind. That doesn't mean that we live in a dangerous society. It doesn't mean that even most crazy people are dangerous. Most crazy people are benign crazy. They're like, gotta turn the light on and off 3 times, or one of my kids will die in a car wreck. That's, most people are that kind of crazy. Or, I gotta count my footsteps in 4s, or else I'm going to have a stroke, that kind of thing. But this was just blatant, insane, crazy behavior. If that woman had a gun, at the way she was acting, she might have decided that was the time she was going to take some people out. But it could have gone bad. So like I'm saying, there's crazy people everywhere. And I think some people forget that because usually we're fairly insulated from the crazy. We don't get involved in it. We're driving by it. We don't pay attention to it. We don't know the people, so we're not subjected to it. But there is crazy out there. And sometimes through no fault of your own, you get stuck behind it doing 20 miles an hour down a road. And then you get stuck beside of it as it calls you an old fucker and tells you to suck its dick. So it can happen. So just take that as a little anecdote to remind everyone out there. Sometimes when you think, there's no point in carrying. I'm not going to need to carry today, blah, blah, blah. Just remember, you might run into a fucking crazy person. It's rare, but it can happen. And it's always better to have that gun and not need it than it is to need it and not have it. So even though I want everyone out there to rest comfortably tonight, knowing that this person's probably not going to show up in your living room, but they are out there. And even though it's a remote chance you might run into them, just in case you do, and then it goes really south, you'll want to be prepared. So remember, stay safe and always carry. All right, everybody, I went a little long on my Yankees brush with death story there today that I wanted to tell everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and close the show out today. And as usual, I'm just going to sign off by saying, as far as the state of the world today is concerned, it is what it is. Sometimes you run into crazy fuckers on the highway. But still, life's pretty good. I have to say it. It could definitely be a lot worse. But things these days could be a little better. And if we as a community remember to ignore the fearmongers, the profiteers, the fake activists, the people who just want to manipulate you and make money instead of fighting for our actual rights, if we ignore those people and we fight smart and hard for our rights in this country and keep level heads about us and don't tell people to suck our dicks at stoplights, especially when we've been the problem, if we do those things, what things will be for people who love the Second Amendment and freedom in general in the very near future is better.